my name is Bec and welcome to a video where I thought I'd talk about books with established relationships in them. I'm actually kind of embarrassed about how small this list is, but this was a real struggle to find. These are the only few that I could pull together, and there's like 4 of them, maybe 5 as an honorable mention. So let's get into this list. I'm sure it's going to be quite a short video and I would appreciate any recommendations you have down below. The first book is one of my favorite books of all time, and it is no surprise if you've been on my channel for a while that it's a Bec Chambers book. It is Record of a Spaceborne Few by Bec Chambers. This one is really hard to describe the plot of. I more describe the feeling of it when I talk about it because it's so empathetic and it's such an investigation into human emotion and respect, and it's just beautiful. So there are a bunch of different characters in here though, and you get to see the different perspectives in society and from their unique race. So you get a whole bunch of people balancing each other, which I loved. And one of those people belongs to a queer couple of, I think, 2 lesbian ladies. I'm not sure if they're lesbian, I just know that they're queer. I haven't read this in a while, so I can't confirm. But Becky is wonderful with writing representation in her work, and she did that so beautifully in this relationship. These were older women as well, and one of them was, I think, some kind of mechanic, and then the other one was a scientist. And it was wonderful to see both of them talking to each other because they just came from such different backgrounds, and often they just clash in their knowledge, not in a negative way, just in quite a endearing way. And that's why I wanted to include this. Bec Chambers does this thing where she writes such wholesome characters, and these were such wholesome interactions, and they've made the characters feel real to me, and it was quite a realistic view into a relationship. So that's why I wanted to pop this on the list, because if you haven't read these books by now, then I'm shaming you because they're so good. This is technically the 3rd one, so you should read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet first, and then A Closed and Common Orbit, and then this one, and then she's got the 4th one coming out in February next year, and I am so hyped up for it. So pick up this series, you will not regret it. Next is also another sci-fi actually, and it is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. I read this recently and I really enjoyed it, and it follows, I don't even remember the characters' names now because when I read audiobooks, the names tend to fall out of my head. But the characters in this, I think Nathaniel is the husband and I can't remember the main character's name, but they are both on essentially a holiday. It's like the 60s and they've driven out of town for this holiday, this small retreat. And while they're out of town, a giant meteor strikes Earth and it kills a ton of people. Nathaniel is part of NASA, and so is his wife kind of, and she is a mathematical genius, and she kind of gets understated constantly by the people around her. Sexism and racial segregation are big themes in this book, as well as anxiety representation, and all of them are handled brilliantly. But if there's something that you just can't handle reading about right now, Mary Robinette Kowal does it so well that it's unavoidable to think about, because whenever I stopped listening to this audiobook and I had to go about and do things with my life, I constantly was thinking about it and the things it was implying and how it related to me and to people in society now. And so she was quite topical about it. And the reason, obviously, the themes are really strong, but Nathaniel and this main character, I feel so bad that I've forgotten her name, but they are such a strong couple in the center of the book, and they don't tend to rely on miscommunication in order to make the plot work. They talk to each other, they have a very realistic interaction or set of interactions, and even when secrets are kept by accident from each other, when they're revealed, they don't have, you know, a huge argument and a huge falling out. It's more of a discussion, and it's calmer and it's understanding. And I love that it comes from that place of love, and I love that they had such a strong, I guess, alliance with each other, and they were very much a team, and I loved seeing that. So that is why The Calculating Stars is on here, and I know a lot of people recommend The Calculating Stars when it comes to having a strong foundational relationship in it, and I have no surprises as to why, because it was wonderful. This next one might actually be quite a surprise because it's a young adult book, and I didn't expect this to have a strong relationship in it, but when I picked it up I was pleasantly surprised, and it's Invictus by Ryan Groudon. You might recognize her from writing Wolf by Wolf. It's another popular young adult series about trying to kill Hitler because it's an alternative history where Hitler won, and this one obviously is not that book whatsoever. It's a sci-fi as well actually, and it's about this ragtag crew. I think they're tasked with a race against time because it looks like Farway McCarthy is a time traveller with nowhere to call home and nothing to anchor him to the present. Far captains a crew on a dangerous mission to the past. So it plays with time. It's got this ragtag crew. When I first read it, it was pitched as for fans of Firefly, and I adored Firefly, and so every time I see that recommendation paired with a book, I'm always apprehensive, but I can kind of see the flavors of Firefly in here, but don't go in here expecting, oh, it's going to be a new Firefly. No, it's not. It's very much different, but because of the ragtag crew and that dynamic, it had those kind of vibes to it. And the main characters, I think two of them, I'm not sure if it was the captain and his girlfriend or not, but they're two of the crew and they've been in a relationship for like 4 years. And so it was really nice to see, especially a younger pairing of characters that had been in a relationship for a while, because as much as I love the drama of two characters getting together, I really like seeing the trials and tribulations and the struggles of two characters who are already together, but their characters haven't changed to become a couple as like they've maintained their individual personalities, but now they're just also in a relationship. I love it when that happens, and that is very clear in these two characters as well as the others I've mentioned as well. They're very much their own selves, but they're also just in a relationship. So I love seeing that representation. And then the next one is a comic book, and it's Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. And this one might not necessarily fit as closely as the other ones have, but I wanted to pop it on here anyway because this follows two characters who are in a relationship and they've just had a child, and the child is actually the narrator of the graphic novel. And so these two people have come from a planet and a moon that are currently at war, and I think they were soldiers and they've fallen in love, had a child and run away, and now basically the entire galaxy is like, we want your child, and are trying to hunt them down. So that is the premise to Saga, but it does have that relationship as a core facet at the center of it. I guess it's the premise of the book. It's what starts the story off, because without Hazel you have no story. So I love how the dynamic of this relationship tends to inform the plot at times, and I love how it's not always a functional relationship. I love how there is arguments and they make up, and it's a constant ongoing dialogue, which I really liked, and it's not always pretty, which is something that I liked as well. So that's why I wanted to include it. Even though it's not as established as these other ones, it's still, it's still there. It still counts, I think. And then that sadly is the end of the significant recommendations on this list. And I wanted to include one honorable mention because while it's not necessarily part of the entire plot, it's part of the premise. So I'm just going to say it. Kings of the Wild follows a bunch of characters who are now past their prime. It's a fantasy book. It's a standalone. The main character's name is Clay, but he's got like a ragtag group of people that he used to go on quests with as a young boy, and now he's older, he's a father, he's got a family. So there's your established relationship kind of scenario. All of the characters that he has currently had friendships with, they've all branched off after their quests and they've all settled down, they've all had families and stuff. And then one day one of his mates comes back and is like, yo, I have a problem. My daughter's been kidnapped. We need to go rescue her. So they kind of try and get the crew back together to go on this quest. It had that like ragtag aspect, but also the established families and relationships from the beginning. So it's a little bit different from a young character with hardly any ties going on a quest. This character and these characters have a lot already invested, and they're leaving those safe spaces in order to go and save somebody else's family member. So it's a little bit alternative compared to what we're used to reading in terms of a quest book, but it's still a lot of fun, and that's why I wanted to pop it on this list. Kind of as an honorable mention, but I think it still had the kind of themes I was going for anyway. So there you go, those are my books with established relationships in it. Again, I'm very disappointed by how small this list is, but I just haven't been encountering it in the things I've been reading. So if you have any, like I said at the start, please tell me below, because I genuinely really want to read about more characters that are already in relationships, because I've passed the point where I'm constantly picking up YA and these characters are getting together. I still enjoy that, but I'm looking for something that's a bit of a variation on that theme as well. So do let me know down in the comments, come and have a chat to me. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.